Welcome back to a brand new coffee tech break with Jan. Good to see you back on my channel again. I think I got another great video for you lined up because I want to take you through Now, before we jump into the specifics, let me first give you all the product guidelines. As a first off, the 4.0 has become available in a sort of controlled release, but I will guide you through that in this video. But it is available for the X30, X50, X70 and the G7500, so for all the products. And it opens up new certifications, it's opened up new applications, but I will walk that all through in this video. I don't want to hold up you anymore, so let's get started. Let me jump in my computer and walk it all through. Right, let's get started with 4.0. And before we start our adventure to 4.0, don't forget to take a cup of coffee in between. Very, very important. Then, of course, I will try to keep it within 1 or 2 coffees. So 4.0. Really excited. It is a really exciting release because it includes a brand new operating system, but also it includes some new applications, etc. But I will walk that through in this video, so stay tuned, including requirements. So what do you need before you can upgrade to 4.0? Now, as I said, a lot of new things going on with this new release. Now, to show you a little bit of the background about 4.0, let me show you how the PolyOS platform is built up. So the first off is the hardware capabilities of the device. So these are the I/O ports of the different devices. They got dual screen ports, they got HDMI inputs, etc. So this is the hardware capabilities. The next one is the OS level. So that is the operating system. On top of that, we got the applications like Zoom and Teams, etc. That is also an important key one. Now, lastly and finally is the user experience. The user that walks to in the room and experience the different applications. So this is how it all is building up. Now, looking at what happened in the 4.0 release. So again, first off, hardware capabilities. So there's a lot of capabilities into the StudioX. As I said, with the X50 you got, for example, dual screen, X50, X70 and G7500. But there's also AirPlay and Miracast built into those devices. Now, for example, if you use it in a PolyOS mode, you're able to use AirPlay and Miracast. But if you use it in Teams, the AirPlay and the Miracast is disabled. You need to use the Microsoft casting feature. So that is important. The devices have all those capabilities, but it depends on the application what's being used. So similar is for touch. Devices itself has touch support, but I know not all applications support the touch functionality today. So this is the hardware capabilities. Now, the next step is the operating system level. This is what we called PolyOS. So this is today based on 8.0. I think that's a very important one. Now, with the upgrade of the 4.0, this layer will be Android 10, the latest and greatest appliance-based version. Now, on top of that, we got, of course, all the different applications and the user will experience those different applications. So I think before we get started, it's just good to know how the whole system, the PolyOS platform is built up from scratch. I'll walk you through the upgrade route, just to show you what are the different routes to get to this 4.0 release. So currently you got a state based on 3.x, one of those versions, which is based on Android 8.0. Now, how does that route look like for you to get to 4.0? Now, what is important, if you still got like devices in the cupboard or hidden somewhere or not used for a while, if they are on 3.0, make sure you first upgrade them to 3.2.3 or at least 3.2 or 3 3.2.2, etc. Just one of those versions in the 3.2 releases. After that, I recommend to upgrade to a version in between. For example, 3.5, 3.6 or 3.7. And the next step is to get to 3.14.2. Why 3.14.1 and 3.14.2 are the baseline to get to 4.0. So I think this is really important. And I will provide some blogs also for my colleague Uwe. And we created some great blogs how to upgrade to the different versions, and also on the community support side there are some blogs about upgrading. So I will provide you some URLs where you have the ability to upgrade your devices if these are on older versions. So just as a baseline, because I know for sure in the field there will be some devices which are still on earlier versions. So your base requirements for 4.0, and this is really key, you gotta be on 3.14.1 or 3.14.2. Keep that in mind. And this is important for the TC8 and for the StudioX series, both of them, because you need to, if you upgrade, you need to upgrade them both, because otherwise the software versions get out of sync and the control is not working correctly. This is the base requirement. And then you're ready for the next step. But be aware, going to 4.0 is a one-way route. There's no way back after you go to 4.0. I think that's very important. Now, what will happen? We will upgrade also on the disk. You got a sort of fabric partition. So if you do a factory reset or use the pin reset, it will come back to a clean 4.0 release. So that was first based on 3.14 or something like that. So we will make sure that is also upgraded to 4.0. So as long as you are on 4.0, that fabric image on the disk will also be 4.0 in case of any reset. And then you're ready for Android 10. And why Android 10? It's just based on the latest security guidelines. You got support for the next couple of years, kernel, security patches, etc. Everything on the latest and greatest, and not Android 13, because I know it is confused a lot with a phone Android and an appliance-based Android. So appliance-based Android is always behind in versions, and that means there's a lot of cleanup being done, vulnerabilities being found, etc. So it's always running behind. But Android 10 is robust and stable as an appliance. There's nothing in this like device happening. There's no Google Play Store. There's no other applications than the video application that you're using. So the Teams, the Zoom, etc. So that's very important. It's completely stripped. And I know there are some links to the security portals from Poly, where you can find some white papers on the definition of this appliance. So keep that in mind if you need that. There's a lot of information about that, but we're now aligning with Android 10 so that everything is up to date. Now, keep that in mind. So 3.14.1 or 3.42 as the guideline. All these applications has been tested intensively on Android 10. So I know we've been working for a while on this 4.0 release, and still it's a sort of controlled release. So you will see it's only available through Lens, but I will talk that through. So we're still doing intensive testing and making this available in a sort of controlled release to see how everything is going with our customers, because every customer has a different environment, different license, different environment, different network, etc. So we got to make sure that this is coming to the users, the StudioX community, as stable and as robust and as good as possible. If you're upgrading, it all falls now, 4.0 falls now under the regular support. So if you run into anything, just let us know as soon as possible, so the support can act on it. Next step. So if you got that ready, and next step, and you wanted to do a downgrade, so that is impossible. There is no downgrade from 4.0. So keep that in mind. If you try to downgrade, what will happen? It will give you a message that the compatible software version is not found. So it will block a downgrade. And I recommend you probably, there's always some ways to do it, but don't downgrade for 4.0 to that 3.x release, because I know in the StudioX also some chips during the software upgrade process, those chips are made compatible with the Android 10 release. So if you're gonna downgrade it, the chip will stay with the Android 10 release. So there could, you could get all sort of compatibility issues. So just keep that in mind. One route to 4.0, and there's no way to go back. Now, the other thing that could happen is if you were using 3.4 and you try to go to 4.0, just be aware that is not possible. And probably again, customers could try to do it, or haven't seen my message about that, or my video blog, but it could be that they're trying to upgrade it, but it could get to a very uncertain and unstable situation. If that happens, I'd recommend to reset settings through the web UI, or just use the pinhole reset on the X30, X50, X70, G7500. So you can do the pinhole reset and do the factory restore. And just try to do that. So be aware of that. There are some things, and I know there's always customers who are creative and trying to upgrade from maybe 3.5 to 4.0, but please be aware. You gotta be on the 341 or 342, which has like the compatibility and just the package is being prepared from that software version to upgrade to 4.0. So there's all things which are hooked into each other and make it work perfectly. So keep that in mind. Just all sort of scenarios you could run into, and hopefully that is helpful. All right, how is the upgrade made available? So as I said, the upgrade is a controlled release. We're in the middle of a controlled release. That means that it is now only available through PolyLens. Why? Because in PolyLens, we can set 4.0 not as the latest release. So if customers per accident set it to auto update, that will not happen. But I will show you that. So there's a way, there's a reason why it is only made available through the PolyLens. This is the way to control those versions. If you then go into the PolyLens, let me show you that. What you will see is you will get all sort of versions there. As you see, if you go in there, you should see it. Now, if you like untick auto update, you will get in a drop-down list all the versions. And what you will see is that 4.0 is the second in line, not the top one. So still, if you enable auto update, let me show you that, you will still see the 3.14.2, not the 4.0. This is to make sure that not all the customers who per accident or have the auto update on, that is trying to upgrade to 4.0 and the whole estate goes to 4.0. Of course, we want to do that controlled. So to go back, you turn off that auto update and just select that 4.0 and keep it like that. Keep it like that till there is a newer version available there, and then you can select that again. So keep that in mind. It's a controlled release because we're moving to that brand new Android version. So it has some impact on the devices, but an important one, because it makes the devices ready for the future, and also some new functionalities which can be made available from the new version and onwards. Okay, so the next step is when you have those versions available, what you can do is you can select them specifically for a group. So you can create a device group, you can pull in some devices which you want to upgrade to that 4.0. And then you can test it out, you can play with it, see how the user experience is, how it integrates. with your Zoom environment or Teams environment, depending which applications you are using. But you also could do it on an individual base. So if you got like one room which you're able to put out as a sort of staged room, testing room for your specific users, you can also do that. So that is, I think, the power of PolyLens. And if you haven't been playing around, and I recommend it to get played and get started with it, because it makes life easy when you want to roll out those type of devices. Now, if you look at then also the PolyLens, what happened is now you got, for example, on the X70, because that is now team certified, you see the options now on Microsoft Teams, and also another new one is the Google Meet. That is supported on the X70 and not on the G7500, the Google Meet. So you will see Google Meet, for example, on the X30, X50 and X70. And with Microsoft Teams, you see that now with all the devices. 30, 50, 70 and the G7500. Here you can select that now in PolyLens as a provider. Very important. So I know there's been quite some big updates. So I tried to keep it today within like 1 or 2 coffees, but there's so much news out there, and hopefully this will give you all the guidance to get started in your own environment. The next step is important, is this is really, I keep on mentioning important because everything is important. So in your web interface you don't see the 4.0 yet. I think that is important. That will come probably in a while. We still see there the 3.14.2 as the latest, because this is the latest version. You gotta be on to get to 4.0. But if you are now on an older version, you really need to go in there and upgrade at least to the 3.14.2. And not only StudioX, but if you got a TC8 or when it's in the cupboard, and make sure you attach it to the X30, X50 or one of your devices to get them both upgraded to the latest version, so they stay compatible with each other. So you will see for a while here the 3.14.2 to make sure that everybody is first on that version. And then you can make this next step with PolyLens, and even probably if it becomes available through the web UI, it will block it. It will block it, and it will give you a message like, please first go to the 3.14.2, and as soon as you're on 3.14.2, you will be it will be shown in the 4.0. And so there's a lot of things going on, but just to keep that in mind. And of course, I always like some hands-on, so let me give you now some introduction to the PolyLens, and so it give you some guidance how you can even add your G7500, for example, to PolyLens, and how you can control the different software versions. So let me jump into it. All right, let's do some hands-on with the PolyLens, and don't forget to take a cup of coffee in between, because that's very important, of course. Now, you can sign up. It's a free model and a freemium model, so you will get a lot of stuff for free, like software upgrades, configuration management, etc. So there's some things which are available to get started very quickly. If you want to do alerting, meeting insights, etc., then you will need additional licenses, which you can buy additionally when you buy the Poly hardware. So I think that's very important. But probably your sales representative in your region will be able to help you out with that. So you can sign up here, a free account, just very easy. And you sign up with platform you are using, and then you log into the PolyLens. So let me do that now. I have an empty tenant here, so I wanted to show you the exact experience, so what you need to do to get your devices into PolyLens. So as you can see, my inventory is 0 and there's no devices at the moment. Now you can register a single device, or you can register multiple devices. And multiple devices means you put in the provisioning information into your DHCP server, and that means as soon as the devices start up StudioX, it will grab that information from the network and it will automatically register to the platform. Now, you have multiple methods to register your StudioX to PolyLens for just one device, one or two devices. Now, you got here the QR code onboarding. This is the one I don't recommend to use because you're missing some things like additional settings to do and software upgrades, etc. So I don't recommend to use the PIN QR provisioning. I recommend to just use the provisioning. And the one you also use where you're going to set up a DHCP server for the automatic onboarding. And so let me go here to the provisioning site. You see right here. So you go to your tenant, to device provisioning. Now here you need to enable it. By default, this is disabled. So you need to enable the provisioning. And this will open up the settings, as you see right here. So these are the settings you need to use on your G7500. I think that is very important. So now we go to our G7500. All right, we log in here to the G7500. All right, we go to servers, provisioning server. And here is where we need to put in the information we have right here. So we enable this. And now we copy and paste the information here, the provisioning settings here into this piece. We're copying in our coffee tag, right? The password. All right, and we click on save. So what it will do, G7500 is now registered to the Lens platform. And as I said, this is like a single usage, or if you got a couple of devices, you're able to do this very quickly if you use this route and register to the platform. Now, if I then go into PolyLens and go back here into my inventory, so here it should be able to pop up, and I will show you it will go pretty fast. So let me go back here to the G7500. It's in progress, so you don't have to reboot, and it's just a matter of filling in the provisioning information, and it should be able to register. So, and as soon as it's registered successfully, what you will see is that it's registered. Here you go. And so you can find also additional information which has been provisioned. You can find it here below. So these are the polling periods and intervals, etc., which are delivered to your device to get configuration updates, etc. Now, let me check in the PolyLens. All right, and here you go. The G7500 is now in here, and let me put the provisioning and show you the provisioning devices which are active. So we would see only those devices which are be able to configure them remotely. Now the device is online. We got several devices linked up. As you can see, the E70 and the TC8, for example. You can see that the provisioning is active. We got lines here, but we don't use it because we use the G7500 in this case in the Teams mode, so we don't have any lines. Now you can click on the G7500 and you will find all the information right here. So you can restart the device or factory reset, etc. Now here it comes. So the device has been added now into the Lens platform. If you then go to policies, what is important is you need to make sure where you're going to use the 4.0 policies. So you can do that based, for example, on the device model. So as soon as a device comes into PolyLens, it will initiate those policies. So I won't put 4.0 onto a device model. As soon as it comes online, you want to maybe get a sort of default configuration, but not a software upgrade directly to 4.0. You first want to get it to that 3.14.2, as I mentioned earlier, and then you upgrade to later versions. I would say use device group, where you can create a sort of test group, add some devices in there, put the 4.0 on a policy on that group, and you're able to upgrade them. Or you do it on a site. That can be a specific location, but also that's maybe a bit too global. Device user group is more for the headsets, so we don't use that with the device itself, or based on the individual device. So let's say you have a room where you want to test out, you got an X70 or G7500, and which you want to test on that 4.0 with Teams, then you're able to set a policy on the individual device and create that. So this is, I think, really important. Just play around those policies, create a test tenant on Lens, get your devices in there and play with it. And under inventory, let me open it up. You can go then to, for example, settings on a specific device. You can go to software updates. And what you will see, it is mentioning now, because I've auto update enabled, is mentioning now to go to that latest version. But that is in PolyLens the 3.14.2. And just to have this sort of controlled release. So customers are not confused and automatically updated to that 4.0 release. So you need to turn off that auto update. Then you set this to PolyLens. And here you can select this version. As I mentioned earlier, 3.14.2 is at the top, and just to make sure that customers are aware. And on the second in line, you got that 4.0 release. So the last thing which I wanted to show you is when you are on that 4.0 release with your G7500 and you're trying to upgrade to a 3.x release, let me show you that. It will give you a warning message. So here you go. I'm trying to push now through the provisioning server and the latest, the 3.14.2. And what you will see is a compatible software version is not being found. So that's very important. There is some protection built into the software so that it will not downgrade to any earlier version. So that is good to know. All right, let's get back to the presentation. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. So the 4.0, as I said, controlled release first through the PolyLens platform, because there it's the easiest to have good control on the release. It's available for all your devices, X30, X50, X70, and the G7500. In the 4.0, there's also an update for the E70 camera. And so if you have that hooked up to your G7500, it's able to update the E70 to that latest release. Same with X70, and there is a firmware update which comes along with the 4.0 release. Same as for the controllers. So the TC8 will have the update to 4.0, and also there's a new one here, which is the TC10. Also has an update to the 4.0 release. Now let me jump into TC10 just to show you, and it is available now for a while. So just to show you some of those features and functionalities. So the TC10. So you can use that as a scheduler, as a room scheduler, but also as a controller at the table. And in Zoom, even both at the same time, and even multiple controllers if you want to. So it's got those very nice LED lights on the side, so it will give a status outside of the room. It gives the status when it is available through green, and if it's busy, it is red. There's some cables coming along with the package. There's different mounting options, so the glass, the wall, etc. And I did an unboxing video, so probably you've seen that. It's one of my my latest videos. So if you want to know what is exactly in the box, I would recommend to check that out. Now, what I think is so powerful with TC10 is that it can work out of the box as a standalone device. So as you know, the TC8 always needs to pair up with the StudioX device. Well, TC10 can actually work standalone. So you just connect it to the network. It's able to grab the latest software. Connect it if you want to in the like a legacy way, so you pair it up with StudioX, or you can control it as a standalone device. But I will show you. So this is the out-of-box wizard which you're able to use on the device. So as you see, it's checking, connected to the network. If there's a new software, it will prompt you. You can update it if you want to. You set the time here. You set discover the network. Now, how do you want to set it up? So let me quickly stop the video here. So again, you pair it up traditionally with StudioX. That is a possibility. But I said today for Zoom, other platforms, and not for Teams yet. Or you can use it as a standalone device. And that means standalone as a scheduler at the entrance of the room or at the table as a controller device. So let me show you. So now we're setting this up as a standalone device. what it will do, you will set the time zone here. All right. So all those settings, as I said, are usually provided through StudioX. So now you need to do this, the device itself, time zone. So here you want to connect it as a standalone device to Zoom. Not only to Zoom as an Android device, but also in Windows, at the PC device, you're able to use it. So here you sign it into the Zoom platform, and we're using it now as a scheduling device. So we'll put in here the activation code. And here you go. You have it now, as you see, as a room scheduler device. You can even use it in the room. So you can use it outside of the room, which makes usually sense. If people walk by, they can see it. But you can even use this inside the room, of course, when you walk in. But now you can easily transfer this device also into a room controller. So here we do it now, and we changed it to a room controller device. And that's it. Very easy, but there's nothing you need to do in combination with StudioX. This is completely standalone. And as I said, with the X devices, with Android, but this works also with the Zoom Room as a Windows PC. Similar experience. Really, really nice, which I just wanted to show you and give you some insights in that new controller. This is one where I also get a lot of requests. So there is now an expansion mic cable extender kit available right now. And I know there's a lot of customers who were waiting for this. So it is a very easy kit, which you're able to grab now. Works with the X50 and the X70 and the Studio USB. It's a very simple kit. You just have the Cat5e or Cat6 between those two adapters, and you hook up the RJ12 into the microphone and the RJ12 into the StudioX, and in between you have this cat cable which can go like up to 30 meters, but you can easily put that into walls, floors, etc. So for integrators, this is a very nice additional options. And yeah, this is why I don't want to miss this out. Just quickly, which I wanted to show you. And also the SKUs are there. So I will provide those SKUs also in the comments, so you're able to copy them. But these should be available right now from the Poly side. The other option, which I also didn't want to miss out, is from Sound Control. That is the RemoteTable Kit. Here you got one part, which is sort of the receiver that comes along with the StudioX. So you put in all the cables and connectors in there. Then you got one cable up to 100 meter, Cat5e or Cat6, and that will go to a transmitter device at the table. So here you move through one cable everything, including the power for the Poly TC8. So you got even PoE provided at the table to your TC8 there. The microphone expansion is also there. So if that kit, where you only can do the microphone, if that's not enough, I would say just look at this extension kit, which will bring all the cables to the table through one cable. So you got HDMI in, and you got the BYOD, the device mode, you got TC8 with power, you got the microphone, everything through one cable, as I said. So it also just didn't want to mention that, and I will put some additional information in the comments where you're able to find some direct links. Let's get started now with the updated applications in the 4.0. A lot of exciting things happened during the last months. So first off, we got X30, X50, very successful product in the market today, running the MTR on Android applications. There's a lot of customers are enjoying using those devices. So now with the 4.0, we're expanding this to Studio X70 for your large room, and also with the G7500 for your AV integrator room. And so if you want to do a bit more with the camera, speaker and mic, have a bit more flexibility, you're able to use a G7500 codec. Really really nice. So how does this look like in your meeting room? First off, the X70, which you can use on your screens. If you got touch screens, you can do also the control using the touch. But if you want to, you can use a TC8 at the table. And so you can always mute the camera or start the meeting at the table, etc. But you can, if you got touch screens, you can do a full control of those devices using touch. I think that is really important. Now, in case you want to have an additional mic, if you got some room acoustic challenges and you want to have additional mic, that is a possibility. It should be needed in most cases, but there is an optional mic available which you can use. And of course, with that extension kit, you can even go up to that 30 meters if needed. Now, further, default in the box, there is a wall mount. I think that's very important. And optional, you got a table stand and a VESA mount. Now, good to know, coming soon, the TC10 also as a controller at the table or as a scheduler. That is all being worked on. So I can only say just stay tuned on my channel, and I keep you updated on those things. Next new option for your large room is the G7500, which gives you a lot of more flexibility for your meeting room. Again, you can drive through touch. So if you got two touch screens, you just hook them up to the G7500 through the USB port, and you can start your meeting here on the screen. You can do some whiteboarding, etc. So Android is really, out of the box, ready for those touch screens. But if you want to have a control at the table, then you can use the TC8. You pair it up, you put it on the table, you got volume control, mute, you will start a meeting, etc. Now with the 4.0 release, it opened up also for the USB cameras. So you can hook up an E70 camera through USB to the G7500. That's a possibility. Only one camera today. Now you can also use HDCI connected camera. So there is, same as on Group Series, there is an HDCI input on the G7500. So you're able to use those cameras which you maybe already have available in your environment. Now you can even use a remote. So optionally there is a remote available to drive the G7500 at the control. You don't have a touchscreen or you don't want to have a TC8 at the table. Now for the audio output, you can use the 3.5mm output of the G7500 and you can bring that to a Poly stereo kit or use a soundbar, and that is a possibility to get some sounds into the room, of course, because it's not an all-in-one, and you got here the flexibility to use your own equipment. Now the next step is the IP table mics. So you can also use IP table mics. You can hook up to 3 into the G7500. It also supplies the power for those mics, and same for the IP ceiling mics. You can connect them directly to the G7500 and it's able to power them up. An alternative to this is using external DSP, and this will put all the DSP functionality to those different providers. This is Azure, a Biamp, a QSC, and all new vendors or all DSP providers which are out there, and they're getting more and more supported on the G7500. I think that's very powerful. You can use here external microphones, external speakers, and connected to those external DSPs. So that is also a very nice option, or if you already have some of those devices in there, you can use them or reuse them with the G7500. And of course also coming soon the TC10, and to use that also with the G7500. Again, just stay tuned on my channel and I will keep you updated on that. Now, the Group Series route to G7500, because there's like a lot of Group Series out there, and I can imagine that that customers are investigating their route to G7500 and what the possibilities are. Now it's different options. So in the Group Series time, we had all kinds of different devices there: touch panels, codecs, ceiling mics, table mics, controllers, the producer. There's all kinds of devices which we had that day. So I just want to walk you through what you're able to reuse of those devices. Now, first off, how you can use group series and how can you use that in like a newer Teams or Zoom environment. There's different options. So first option is to use a CVI, an MTRoA platform or the Zoom Room controller to connect to those platforms. And I see other also platforms who are providing those interrupt services for H323 and SIP and to dial in. So that is, I think, really powerful. The next option is to switch to from the group series to the G7500. So there you got different applications. You can even also use it in H323 and SIP. So that is also available on the G7500. But also you can run one of those applications and start using that. So that is something you always need to investigate. Do you want to go through native or do you want to use it through interrupt? It could be that you got a very complex AV integrated room and already a setup there. Yeah, then it's always something to investigate if you want to go for interrupt or you want to replace. If you need to replace it at the end or your group series is expired and you want to find something new, then it's, I think, a good option to look at the G7500 and see how that fits into your environment. Now, the I/O of the G7500 is very interesting because it offers some possibilities, to work in those AV integrated rooms where the group series was also doing the same thing. And so as you can see right here, you got an analog I/O, so you got input and output there for analog speakers, and also an input here if you got maybe an external microphone or something which you want to use. There's a serial port here for the controls. There's several USB ports here, which can be used for your cameras. It can be used for touch, etc. We got a USB-C port that is used for your device mode. So you can put the device into a sort of BYOD mode, and then you use the USB-C port for your camera, speaker, and mic. Not for your screen sharing, and that is important. You use specifically the HDMI input port here for the video. Now this is an interesting one, the HDCI port that is used for the director, producer and the other cameras which were connected to your group series. And here you got the LAN port, and further out here you see the microphone. And so this can be the IP table mics or the IP seating mics, which you can directly connect here to the G7500. And lastly, we got the power port, just to show you some I/O. I did several videos on the G7500. So if you're looking for some videos on that, I can provide you a link here to those favorites. I did some videos there to walk that all through. So that is, I think, always interesting to review this. Now, if you're coming from group series and you're looking to upgrade to the G7500, so what are the options there? So first off, the cameras. Yes, so you can use the HDCI cameras with the G7500. I think that is important. You can also use now USB cameras. So with the 4.0 release, you can go to a newer camera. You can also go to the E70 or the Eagle i4 USB, and that is also a possibility. But just one camera at a time can work on the Teams application. I think that is very important. Now, the next thing is the touch control. So you cannot reuse the touch panel, which was coming with the group series. This is a very old one now, and you are not able to use that on the G7500 anymore. Same for the table and the ceiling mics. You cannot reuse those devices. So you need to get the new IP table and IP seating mics. That's very important. Now, the next thing is your integration, your DSP integration. So if you had some sort of DSP integration on the group series, then that was based on the 3.5mm port. So you're able to use that with the G7500 codec. But what I recommend is to switch to USB, because the G7500 has the USB ports which you're able to connect up to the DSP, and which will get the right functionality and integration with the G7500 and with the connected DSP. And so as I said, here it was 3.5mm port, was only 3.5mm. Now, and here, if you go to the G7500, you will probably need some box in there in between and to connect it to G7500, but I would recommend to do that digitally and connect that up through the USB cable. Now, the lastly are the APIs. So on the group series, there were many programming APIs through serial and through IP. So most of these are all transferred also to the G7500 and available on the G7500. I would recommend always with these type of things to get in contact with an AV integrator and test that out. So you probably need to check and run through the programming which you used on the group series, and you probably need to make some changes there because it could be that the command is maybe a little bit different on the G7500, so you probably want to check that, but this is something which is possible. G7500 has the API available through like IP and through serial. All right, now the G7500. So let's say you connect there to a director or the producer, you connect it through the HDCI port. So what is important is you will get the same information you had on the group series. So if you connect that through the HDCI port, you will get similar information here on the G7500 in the web UI. So you can set it to frame speaker or to frame group, etc. All those settings which were available on the group series will come back here. So you don't have to worry that you cannot like make any settings there or program it. Now that's a possibility to use that. So the HDCI input is still available there. All right, MTR on Android. What comes with version 4 is Teams app number 3. I think that's a very important one. Teams app number 3, what you see right here, that comes along. That was the version, I think it was from December 2022, and that is now available by default in version 4. You can install that. Now, I know Microsoft is already working on the next version there. So if a new version comes out, you're always able to push that. And so those APKs, those applications are completely like separate from the operating system. So you can always work that through and upgrade them through the Teams Admin Center if needed. Make sure you upgrade. If you do an application upgrade, make sure you upgrade StudioX and also upgrade the touch panel, the TC8. And these are available under the touch consoles. Now, what was available? And when we look at the Teams app 2B, which came available in September 2022, and we had several new functionalities in there. Just quickly, so there's always some maintenance. We had front row sort of phase 1, which was a first of front row. There was no chat available on the site, but you can do some initial front row things. We had direct guest join for WebEx, which was added. We like slowly going to the pro and basic licensing. If you haven't been played around with that, I recommend to check that out. So that licensing will change, and this upcoming summer, they will force that, the basic and pro licensing structure. There were some things like fit to frame. So if you dial in with an MTR on Android room, that your client is able to identify it, and it will make sure that you can see the whole room. And so that is also an important one. That was already available with like MTR on Windows, but not available on MTR on Android yet. The Teams app 2, which became available in December 2022. Of course, there's always some maintenance in there. An exciting one is now whiteboarding. So you have by default now whiteboarding available on the MTR on Android. So you can initiate there. If you hook up 30x50, x70, G7500, you hook it up to a touchscreen. You can start it now by clicking on whiteboard, and you can quickly create a whiteboard on your screen. Really powerful. And also they upgraded the initial like resolution of the application to 4K support. And so I think that's also a very interesting one. Now, if you have a touchscreen enabled and you upgrade to 4.0 and it is also connected, you should see the whiteboarding functionality immediately. If you do that later, you probably need to enable the touch button and the whiteboard button under the settings, because then it could be that it's not available yet. But I will do a deep dive later on, specifically on those Teams application settings. But I wanted to keep the video as consolidated as possible. So you can start a whiteboard here, initiate it. You can even escalate it to a Teams meeting if you want to. There's a lot of new good stuff in there. There's also a redesigned shared menu. So now if I'm in a meeting, you can say share content using the HDMI, or you can share the whiteboard. That's also a new functionality. Important one is you will get that like Microsoft Whiteboard only if you're in the same domain. And it's a sort of security thing. If that is disabled across domains and you send an invite from another domain, or customer sends you an invite, it could be that the Microsoft Whiteboard button is not there. So this is something to review. But as long as you are on the same domain and you send an invite to that MTRoA on Android, then the Microsoft Whiteboard function should be available. Now, one which I think is really nice is you can have now touch controls on the screen. So if you got a touch screen, you can use the buttons right there. At the same time, you can pair up a TC8 at the table. So you can initiate whiteboard, you can start a meeting on the screen and at the table. And this was not possible in the past. If you paired up a TC8 or control panel, all the buttons were removed from the screen and only available on the TC8. So now you got both. Again, make sure you enable those settings. In the TC8, you need to enable the touch, you need to enable the whiteboarding, which are different functionalities, admin functionalities in there. And if these are enabled, you should be able to see that. Really nice. And I created some shorts on that, how to enable it. So if you haven't seen it, I created some shorts the last couple of months. Yeah, it's for me very easy because I can show you quickly some functionality and settings. So if you want to see some more of that touch functionality, where you can find it, I would say just look at those shorts and you're able to see that. All right, and of course you can initiate the whiteboarding very easily from the screen. What more in that Teams App 3 from December? So you got chat bubbles. So chat bubbles is somebody's on the PC client, on the mobile, and chat something into the meeting. It will come sort of visible very shortly in the screen. And you can, through the admin settings on the TC8, you can enable or disable that. Because I can imagine if there's a lot of chatting going on, it disrupts probably the people in the meeting room. Now there's a new notification banner. So room is occupied, sort of automatic check-in, so that the MTRoA on Android, which is in the room, it's got a camera, there's people inside, so it's able to detect that people are in there, and then it could, the scheduler were able to provide a sort of automatic check-in that people are there. Really interesting one. Now one which I didn't want to forget is Teams Admin Center, the fair update change. So now, in the past, you could turn it off, but that's not available anymore. You need to defer to 30 days. So if you want to delay your update, you can do it at 30 days or to 90 days. In this case, I would recommend to defer. If there is an update available through Teams Admin Center, I would say defer to 90 days, because the 4.0 is not available yet in Teams Admin Center. That will be in a later phase. So be aware of that. So make sure that you defer it, because in Teams Admin Center, it could be an earlier version which is in there. And if that is as soon as possible, it will downgrade or try to downgrade your device. That won't happen, and that should be blocked, because we're blocking any downgrades from 4.0 to 3.0, but it's just good to defer it to at least 90 days. So you got like 2 months, and I expect within those 2 months those software versions, the 4.x software versions are available at all locations by that time. MTRoA Android devices are also available in the Teams Management Pro portal. Really nice. So here you already had your MTRoA on Windows devices, and now you can also see your MTRoA and Android devices. It's still development, so you can see they're healthy. You can integrate it with ServiceNow, so if something goes wrong, it can send you alerts, etc. You can delegate access to different partners. So there are some things available, and it is ongoing, and I will probably do a deep dive in one of the upcoming videos. But at least it is available now with in your Teams Admin Center, and you need to have pro licenses to use this. So I think that's very important. All right, the next thing which I wanted to make you aware of is there's a change in the behavior of the Teams application. So if you switch from Teams to Zoom, for example to Zoom or one of the other applications, and you switch back to Teams, you need to sign in again. Just something to be aware of. So the signing process, know that you can do that with a code on the screen, a code on the TC8, and then you can easily sign in, even remotely, but it's something to be aware of. This is only happening with the Teams application. If you switch to any of these other apps, it will memorize your credentials, but it's only Teams which will reset the login credentials. It was one of the requirements of this latest Teams application to reset that. So that's just good to know. Now, what is happening? I think this is always an exciting moment. What is happening with the upcoming app? So as I understand, throughout this month and throughout April, there will be some updates coming on MTRoA and Android. So I grabbed some things from their roadmap. For example, one of the things which I think which we will appreciate it is the automatic share to the room display. So with the barcode, a lot of customers are using that. So if you do that, put that on the HDMI. Of course, it will show the barcode all the time, or as soon as a laptop is connected to the StudioX, it will show the laptop. So now you can initiate that manually. You can turn it off in that upcoming update. The next thing, which I think was also well appreciated, is the HDMI includes now the audio. So you don't have to do any workarounds to get audio now in the screen. If you connect your laptop through HDMI, StudioX, and the Teams application will also now present that audio into the room, but also into the meeting. Really nice in that upcoming release. Default front row. So you have front row now fully available in this update 1 for 2022. Really nice. The new meeting behavior is now similar as the MTR on Windows. So if you do a new meeting, screen will show you the camera and you will be presented with the screen to let other participants join. But this is different. In the past, when you did new meeting, you need to first invite somebody to start a meeting, but now we'll just start a meeting and then you get the participants in. So as I said, similar behavior now as the MTR Windows. In combination with front row, you got that chat. So you can show now the chat on the screen. Really nice. Or next to the screen on the side in your front row layout. We got join with an ID. This one was also missing on MTR and Android. So if you are in a meeting, you want to just quickly join, there's no invite on the screen. You now just put in the ID, meeting ID with the passcode, and you're able to quickly join it ad hoc. Really nice. So this is in the upcoming release, and you can find all that information on the Microsoft roadmap. So I will put some links in the comments so you're able to find that quickly, but all looking good. It's getting like Android and Windows are getting almost at the same level. The only thing which I think we're missing in Android is multiple cameras and content cameras. These are, I think, the last two. And also the custom background is something we're also still missing on MTR Android. But always check with Microsoft about any roadmap items. And the one which I have available is their public roadmap. and that is available through this link right here. But as I said, I will put it also in the comments, so you're able to check that out. Next application. Let's go. Zoom. Also a lot of things going on at Zoom. So with 4.0, what is coming? The 5.13.5. That is one is coming along with the 4.0 release. It could be in between, and that Zoom is bringing out newer releases through the Zoom device management. Same behavior here. You can always push out newer APKs to the StudioX G7500. There's no limitation or anything. Block the operating system and the application can behave separately. So you're always able to update that independently on the device. Now, if you look at the changes we had previously, we had the 5.12, which I talked about earlier. So we had the dark mode on the TC8. We had some different features in there. We had content support for 1080p 30 using the HDMI input as digital signage, standalone whiteboard. There were some nice updates in there. It's new. So in the 5.13, which comes along with the 4.0, I think there's one which is really excited, and that is you got the ability now to join different platforms from the Zoom application. You got here the Google Meet, you got Teams meeting, or you got a WebEx meeting. You just punch in the meeting ID and you're able to join. I really like this functionality. It gives you the flexibility. It looks almost like the trio we had in the past, and with all those buttons to those different platforms, where you had similar functionality, where you're able to join using that meeting ID. Really powerful. Gives customer a lot of flexibility. Besides the device mode, the BYOD mode, in this case, you don't need to bring your laptop. You just need the meeting ID, which you can grab from your phone or from any other device, and you're able to join it very quickly. Really nice. So this is, I think, one of the big enhancements for the 5.13 release. What's next? So we also have some new applications in the 4.0, and that is the Google Meet, which is available now on X30, X50 and the X70. Really powerful. It's just available now through the provider menu. Select Google Meet. It will start up and the activation is really easy. You'll be prompted with a code. You go to the admin portal from Google, assign it a license, and you're able to use it. Really, really nice. So we have that available now. There are some limitations. So today it's single screen. There's no HDMI ingest. So there are some limitations, but I know that Google is working on that. So that will probably be available through some of those upcoming updates. Let's look at the different rooms. So we have here the X30 for a small room. Very easily, you put the TC8 or the TC10 at the table. Usually for your smaller rooms, TC8 is sufficient. Now, what you need to activate is the Google Workspace Meet license. So keep that in mind. You need that to activate the room device within the Google platform. Same with the X50 for your medium room. You can optionally also use the table mic, even with that cut extension kit if needed. Again, TC8 or TC10 at the table. You need to use your Google Meet Workspace license to activate it. Same thing. Now for your large room, you can use the X70. Again, optionally use a table mic, usually not needed, but if it is like high ceiling, a lot of glass, etc., it could be that you need some additional mic further in the room, but otherwise it shouldn't be needed. You put TC8 or the TC10. Usually for the larger rooms, I prefer to have the TC10 available, bigger screen, and again you need that Google Meet Workspace Meet license to activate it. Now you can also create a sort of BYOD room. That's also a possibility. So you just walk in with your laptop. It's certified for the Google Meet platform. You just put in the USB cable and you're able to use it. So that is for the Studio USB. There's also some personal options with Google Meet. Just wanted to quickly show you these. So you got the P5, you got the P15, and the all-in-one, which you can just put on top of the screen. You put one cable in the laptop or in your docking station, and you can use that with your laptop. It includes camera, speaker, and mic. The P5 is camera and microphone, but usually I recommend if you use a P5, you probably want to use an additional headset or speaker at the table for your private calls. And so there's a lot of flexibility there on the personal side also, which is good to know. Now, further, a lot of things happened. As I usually said, just watch through the release notes. You can find all the different versions in the release notes. These are all mentioning in the release notes about what specific application is supported on what platforms. You also have the different external DSPs. These are also mentioned in the release notes, so always check it out. There's even content sharing support, so for the CX30 and CX50, all been tested in combination with the different devices. So that is also good to know. Here you can see the device mode supported on which devices, or the app space, the digital signage. It's always good to know. There's always some good things in the release notes which you probably want to check out. So here ends the 4.0 release update. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you got any questions or comments, I would recommend you just put it under the video and I will try to answer them as good as possible. Again, make sure you got all your devices as soon as possible to the 341 or 342, where you can make the jump to 4.0. I think that is very important because I expect in the next 2 months that 4.0 will be available everywhere, also through the web interface, etc. But again, the base layer is the 3.14.1 and the 3.14.2. And so you gotta be at least at one of these versions to get to that latest release and upgrade it. This release, 4.0 release, opens up for Poly and for the StudioX series a lot of new features and functionality. So I'm really happy we got this out now, so we can work on some brand new features and functionalities for all our devices. So I would say keep an eye on my channel, and so if there's some new updates coming out, and we'll try to bring them out. And also check out the shorts. As I said, I also created some shorts videos where you can find some quick introduction how to enable the touch, for example, in the new release, where you got a dual touch, and you can also enable that. I also created some shorts. Just make sure you check those out. And again, thank you for watching this channel. If you like this type of video, I would say just subscribe to my channel, and I always keep you updated on the latest and greatest, and looking forward to see you in the next video.